All right, everyone. Looks like I am live. Thank you so much for attending Doris Summit today. Hope everybody had enjoyed the session so far. Today, I'm going to talk about, VeloDB, one of the largest contributors behind the Doris project, and how you can really get started quickly with Doors through VeloDB. In my opinion, I feel that VeloDB is the easiest way to get started with Doors, whether you're an experienced practitioner or you're someone just new finding out about the project and wanted to use it for your own personal projects or you're exploring for your companies. For today's session, I'm going to give a brief introduction to the company just to talk a little bit about history, where we come from. And then I'm going to jump into a demo of VeloDB Cloud, the place where you actually get started with the environment. We're going to go through some of the main query and search experiences so you can really get to see how quickly you can get started. And then finally, we'll talk about a little bit about what's coming soon, as well as the ecosystem and certifications that we provide for any enterprises that are willing to adopt. There's a number of certifications to make sure that your data is secure and that you're compliant within your compliance frameworks. Without further ado, let's get started. So VeloDB is really as native to Doors as it gets. We basically keep up with all the releases, we serve all the same use cases, provide the same great sets of integrations. And if you're a Doors user already, going from managing it yourself to using VeloDB should be very seamless. Everything is as close as possible, but we offer additionals. Really has to do with how to really use the products. And the two things we're going to really talk about today is the entire SaaS service, as well as the VeloDB Studio that we provide for you to actually really do work in. So, not going to spend too much time on slidewares because you've probably seen a lot already. So I'm going to dive right into the products. And I'll give you a few rundown of what we're looking at here. So the first thing I wanted to show you is this VeloDB Cloud Console. And it's super easy to actually get into the product. In fact, we are just released a single sign-on. So as long as you have a Google account, you can essentially get into the environment with a free trial in a single click. And of course, you can also hook it up to your SSOs or other, you can create an email and sign in as well. And once you get to the console, it's pretty easy to operate. For example, you can actually check out your profiles, your billings, and in certain cases, you may actually get some additional credits. Aside from the 14 days we provide, if you reach out to us, you needed to play with it a little bit more, you have an interesting project, let us know. We can help you out, see if there's more that you can do on the cloud services with some additional credits, and it's super easy to add them in our services. We're also available on the AWS Marketplace, so you have the AWS committed spend. You can go there directly and use those committed spends against the fully SaaS managed services that you're seeing over here. So this is really the basics, and getting started is as easy as creating a cluster. I already have one created, but if you're curious, looking at the cluster screen, very intuitive in terms of naming your clusters, picking availability zone. In this case, because I am on AWS, I have these following availability zones in US East that I can use. And for compute, it's really just figuring out how much compute, storage that you may need. In this case, storage is represented by cache. This is where we have high-speed NVMEs that are attached to these compute clusters to really help you build these data caches and materialized views to further accelerate your analytics. And for compute, it's coupled with memory. So as long as you're picking some set of compute, we can kind of help you recommend the best memory setup with those compute. And of course, there's auto pause and resume without saying, goes without saying. So if you're not using your clusters, it will be on pause and billing will stop. And as you can see, getting started is super cost effective as well. In fact, this trial cluster with 4 CPUs only cost me a little less than 60 cents an hour. So really easy and simple to get started. And of course, there's the number of metrics and user management that you can look at. But what's really cool is this studio because this launches into a really rich set of experiences for you to go to really perform your analytics. Whether you're building sets of pipelines, queries for dashboardings, or searches for log analysis. So over here, I have set up both so that you can really get to see how all of this works in action. To start things off, when we talk about real-time data analytics, oftentimes we're talking about data that are being generated. And one of the sources is really stream data. And as of last week, we actually released a native integration with Confluent Cloud so that you can actually pull data from Confluent Cloud directly from Doris. All you have to do is really provide a set of standard informations, such as your brokers and API keys, and you can get started from pulling data from Confluent Cloud. Of course, it's the work the same way with Apache that you may host your Kafka that you may host yourself, uh, but pretty straightforward to get to. And for my quick demo, I actually created a data gen on Confluent Cloud that is generating some customer order datas, and this has been running for a little while. So you can see that I'm here looking at data from demo data 2, and I want to find where the item ID is item ID 6. So running this quickly, it will just run that query, and you can see that this query ran super fast, 74 milliseconds. And this is actually about the average response time that we expect from these queries. Really, for these things, we expect things to be running about 100 milliseconds. So this is well underway, and I think should be because the data set is not too big. But this is how easy it is to really just query data that are being landed through a stream inside the storages that we control. Now, on the other note, you can actually play with data such as auto logs here as well. So over here, what I did is I purposely injected some errors as I was playing with my SQL editor to see if there's some syntax errors that I can define. And what I did was that I'm going to query this autolog to show you the number of errors where I have error code that appears in the error message column. And there's about 50 right here. I'm just going to run it again. Should still be about 50. And this is looking at the internal autolog. And typically in observability, you might be interested in digging into the logs to understand what exactly is going on. And if I just simply take out this count just to show you the columns and the informations, you can see that there are these following columns with error messages, error code, and etc. But instead of using SQL, you can actually use keyword searches directly through with your logs, very similar to like Kibana. And all you have to do first is to build a inverted index. And building that inverted index is just quick as a quick SQL command. Simple alter table command, I can add this index. And this one I did it for the demo data too. It's the same if I were to do it for the audit log. And I have done that already. And you can look at all of the indexes through the data browsing, where you can look for the indexes that you created within your tables. So here, if I look at the audit log table, which is keeping track of everything I'm doing currently, you can see the DDL statements, and that's of course the indexes that are there already. In this case, you can see that there's a error message inverted index that were created. And the reason I created this inverted index is so that I can perform search quickly. And because we're serving both search and queries, we obviously want to make sure that the search analysis is a first-class citizen. And this interface is really great for log analysis because I can select time ranges that I want to query against. I can select the number of fields that I want to display on the screen so I can really look at the relevant information that I care about rather than searching through all of the fields. In this case, I really care about the error code and the error messages because I want to know what users were, that ran into while using VeloDB. And if you look closely, when we run this query, I ran it already, it also shows you that there's 50 entries of error code that displays in the error message column. So this matches up exactly with what we've seen earlier when we query that table directly, just to show how easy it is to switch from both interfaces. You can really perform either one on the same sets of data very seamlessly. Now, a couple of other things I wanted to run through. We have a rich tools of quality of life. For example, you have saved sessions and query history. And what's really cool about query history is that you can really getting into diagnosing and troubleshooting slow running queries or understanding all the steps that went through running these queries. In this case, I can kind of see all of the different steps and the execution time that it takes. So to help understand and diagnose where the bottleneck may be if I'm running into a particular slow query. Or if you just want to go through history, you can quickly get the DDLs from all of these, and we intelligently track all of this. So again, very easy for you to reference past events, and if you wanted to duplicate certain workloads, very easy to find. And finally, if you're just curious at evaluating, you just want to run some tests, we actually have a set of query templates on benchmarks, and you can add your own, where you can have predefined templates where you already have the DDL, DML statements for you to run on a set of sample data that we provide out of the box. That is pretty much it for the studio. It's a very quick and easy way to start hitting data analytics that you bring in through streams or buckets. Right now, we offer a rich set of functions, mostly through curl, to be able to operate with the environment from your desktops, whether you're doing a stream load, batch load, connecting to S3, and so forth. But soon, we're going to have additional quality of lives that allows you to connect to data, integrate into different catalogs from the UI directly. So you don't have to deal with all of the CLI operations to make it even easier for you to connect to your data, bring your data on board, and to get started using Apache Doris for your projects and your work streams. So back to VeloDB. So a couple things I also wanted to touch on. We heard about Apache Doris 4.0s, and I wanted to mention that we're going to be offering a tech preview of this on our cloud service. So really lowering the barrier for you to try Apache Doris 4.0, and with all of the AI capabilities that we're including, it's going to be a great time to start quickly on testing out some of the new capabilities that you're seeing with 4.0. We're also adding the integration, so you can see a screenshot of the different integration via UI that we'll be offering, so you can easily connect to your Glue catalog with Z3, Polaris, Unity, and even traditional high meta stores. Or if you have data that are sitting in MySQL or Postgres, we can perform a federated connections to those sources as well, just so that you can explore those data before you decide to do any heavy lifting. It goes without saying that VeloDB is constantly keeping up with all the latest integrations and the ecosystem. So this is just a view of all of the different places where we currently work with, from the data sources supporting all of the major object storage types, as well as the data integration tools. There are certain orchestration tools that you can run on top, with us being the engine, as well as a number of storage and table formats that we support. Again, the whole point is to really, bring this real-time capability to wherever your data lives, wherever your needs are, and really about, making sure that you're making the minimum changes to your technology stack, and we're making sure that everything out of the box is working well and intended. For those who are part of enterprises, compliance is almost always on top of mind, especially in the data space, with GDPR being in full swing, data sovereignties, as well as the standard sets of SOC 2 and ISO. And I'm proud to say that we're now compliant with all of these different standards, so you can really get started with us in an enterprise setting right away. And finally, I said about making sure that you can get Doors wherever you are. I talk about how easy it is to get started with a SaaS service, only a few clicks, and even a non-technical person can get started to build things. But we also offer other form factors that fits your need. For example, some may be more sensitive in terms of where the data lives, or they want to use their own compute pool because there's already investments in those areas as well. In which case, you can bring your own compute, where you can bring your storage, your compute, and run VeloDB, just the software, on your compute directly. So great if you wanted to have some degrees of isolation, but also have us manage some portion of the deployment, so that the entire burden doesn't fall on your teams. And if you're with a organization that deploys on-prem, we offer that as well. But I'll have to say though, no matter which form factor you try, it is very easy to switch between form factors. There's parity across all, so should not be a problem, even if you try on SaaS and decide to deploy in production in other places. And last but not least, I talked about learning more and getting started today. We offer a 14-day free trial. No credit cards required. You can sign up in few clicks. In fact, if you want to sign up right now, go and do it. It will take only a few seconds, and you can get into your environment and play it right away. Also, we have a number of different blogs published on use cases, customer stories, tutorials on how to get started, on how to design a particular solution with VeloDB. And we have LinkedIn, where we post our latest events, blogs, and articles, as well as news that we're in. So please check us out in these different forums. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the day and that you all can get started with Doris soon. Thank you very much.